Hello and welcome back to our first episode of Gem Pursuit 2026. We're going to do a little bit of a different episode today. We're going to have a reflection and look back at 2025, and then we'll have a look forward at 2026, some of the trends that we think might happen, the styles that are prevailing, and what to watch out for in the world of antique jewellery. And just before we begin, if you have been watching us on YouTube lately, make sure you click that subscribe button to get updates about our new episodes that we release there. And if you're on audio, make sure you subscribe to that podcast, whether it's on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever platform you are on. So with that, let's get started. Welcome back to Gem Pursuit. I think it's good that we just have a quick look back at 2025, and I know for us it was all action. I don't know what it was like for you. I'm sure it was similar. You know, we had a few fairs abroad that we went to. We did a couple in New York. We did one in Miami, and I know we met a lot of you there. But you know, thinking back on the fairs, we did the fair in Parma in March, and that was our last one that we did in Italy. It was a really good fair. It's actually quite an interesting fair, but logistically, it was just too tricky to do it. And or we still go to it. I actually love going to that fair. It's one of my favorite because for anyone who's been there, you'll know that Parma, Italy, has incredible. It's incredibly located, as in it's sort of a crossroads of sort of France, Italy, Switzerland, really central to Europe, close to Milan. So you get a great mix of antiques there. Now there's only a very small jewellery section. It's an enormous fair otherwise, and anyone, as I said, if you visited it, you will know, like, you need to have good walking shoes if you're there, because it's over several halls. You know, there's antiques in it. It's expansive, like really is expansive. I don't know what our step count was. I think we counted at one time, it was like 25,000 steps. So yeah, you need to really be on your toes there. But we still go to it. But we exhibited for the last time there in March, it was, I believe. And then in the US fairs we did, and I know we met a lot of people in the New York show that we did in April, which was the Jewelry Objects and Antiques show, Joaz. Great show. Like, they've loads of great ideas, great energy. I really love going to New York to do the shows. You know, we bring only antique jewelry to the US. Obviously, we've got some pre-loved pieces that we sell here locally, but the antique pieces, you'll know if you see our booth when you're over there. I know a lot of you have been. You'll notice that it's really the Victorian, the Edwardian, and the early Art Deco pieces. And I think that kind of makes us stand out there, and that we're so specific in what we bring. The US shows, I suppose, with Dublin Airport has the US the pre-clearance, so it's really easy to actually travel there, which is, I suppose, one of the reasons we like doing it. And they've a nice lounge for the US flights in Dublin Airport as well. So really looking forward to those. That was April. You know, the summer, loads of people visited the shop. If you were over, I hope you enjoyed your trip to Ireland. And if you're based locally, sure, you're always welcome to come in and say hello. Then we got a notification, which is one that I got, and two of the biggest kind of awards that we've got in the store were queries that we've got in just through our like comment function on the website, or like your, I don't know, like send a request or whatever. And one of them was the New York Times article about Gem Pursuit 2 years ago. And then this year we got an email from TikTok, and it was that we were nominated for the Fashion and Beauty Creator of the Year for Ireland and the UK. So I know loads of people tried to vote for us in the US, but you couldn't unless your TikTok account was based in Ireland, the UK. And anyway, we had a trip to TikTok headquarters in Ireland, which is very informative. And then we had the awards night in London, which was an incredible event. Like, the creators are obviously the lifeblood of TikTok, and you know, we create TikToks about our business. But what I was realizing is that a lot of these people, they're TikTok creators. I mean, sorry, this is like obvious for probably anybody in a certain age bracket. They understand that creators, they just make content. They're not specific to a particular industry or whatever. Well, you know, they can be, but they They can just be general content creators, and that's kind of how they make their living. And some of the Irish content creators are incredible. Yeah, we actually we formed a great bond. I'd say the Irish creators over there, because obviously we went over there together, etc. And a lot of us are still in touch. I really enjoyed it, and it was so great to meet them. So it was like a dinner and an awards ceremony, and there was a 6 or 8 nominations in my category, but there was so much people creating content at the award. Like, so all of the sponsors had particular booths that were set up for content creation. And it was, probably the event was, it was heavily weighted towards actually creating content. Obviously enjoying it as well and meeting other people, but you had to create good content. And I actually probably only realized after that was part and parcel of it. And I kind of felt at the end of it that I was a bit green, that I hadn't really got the grasp of it, or hadn't utilized it fully as I should have. But I will now going forward, obviously. And like, a lot of people brought a +1, but the +1 was really just there to shoot content. No, I had a +1 who helped me with that as well. So it was really interesting, like really interesting. And I'd approach it completely differently going forward. But like, the event was great, and as I said, we didn't get the win. But even being nominated, I think, was a great achievement. I was elected uh, a member of the company of goldsmiths. So there's an assay office in Dublin, which is the assay office, right? Which we've mentioned before. If you go back and look at our gold episode, which you did a while ago, which I think we could warrant another episode on gold, because gold has just, the pricing is so interesting at the moment. There's an assay office in Dublin, and they are responsible for monitoring the sales of precious metals in Ireland and making sure that they're hallmarked correctly. Now, what a hallmark is if you make a piece of gold jewellery, you legally have to send it to the assay office, which is in Dublin Castle, and they stamp it as the correct purity of gold, usually 9, 14, or 18 karat gold, or 21, depending on the piece. So they stamp it as that, and they do silver as well. Of course, in fact, the majority of it is silver. Really looking forward to contribute there and assist in the direction that they're taking, or whatever way that I can. So, but like, it's really interesting because that company of goldsmiths are 350 years old. They're one of the oldest guilds, one of the only remaining guilds actually in Ireland, and they are responsible for making sure that the gold that you buy in Ireland is exactly what what it is, it's sold as. God, I nearly got there. So if it's 18 karat, it's tested, and it's a minimum of 18 karat gold. And like, the Irish hallmark, it is one of the most like respected in the world. It's really strict, and as I said, it's one of the oldest ones. So they've got a great place there in Dublin Castle, a great team in there as well, making sure that everything in Ireland, is sold as is, and correctly hallmarked and labelled. So there was a charter dinner with them, and then there was the election. I thought that was really interesting. And it was in a way, they actually happened right beside the TikTok awards. It was such a juxtaposition of like a really, really new modern business, and then one of the oldest businesses, or guilds in the world. And I have to say that the assay office, we were talking about, TikTok potential in terms of promoting, and even just explaining to people what it is that the assay office does, because it actually has a really important role. We have our Courtfield magazine that was released after that. If you want a copy of it, send us an email, experts@courtfield.ie, or go on to our Gem Pursuit pod Instagram. It's our autumn winter magazine. It's got a lot of information about jewellery in it. It's got stories about certain makers. Paul Vance Gubelin is in this one. It's got an update about our trip to the Cartier exhibition that we did this year. We went there to Cartier, had an exhibit in London in the V&A about some of their most important pieces. And as a team, we went over there just to kind of keep us at the forefront of jewellery information. So it's got kind of a summary of our trip there. And then it's got some of our latest pieces as well. And it's called Masterpieces and Muses, because we kind of look at jewelry through the lens of paintings. It's kind of related to the series of the podcast that we did just before Christmas. So it all kind of tied into one. The trip to Well, the trip to V&A is also mentioned in there. The jewelry through paintings, the masterpieces and muses. It's a link between the podcast and it's kind of like a print version. So if you enjoy the podcast, we'd love to send you out a magazine. So just message us at our Gem Pursuit Instagram, which is Gem Pursuit Pod, or emails at experts@courtville.ie, and we'd be delighted to send you out a copy. So then looking forward, I suppose, to 2026, and I was just taking stock there over the last few days, and it's hard to believe that it's actually coming on 8 years in March since we were in Courtville Antiques downstairs here in the Powerscore Townhouse Centre. I still kind of feel like the new kid on the block, but it's actually coming on. It's like not far off a decade, really. Um, which in the antique jewelry business is actually a new kid on the block, to be fair, because you never stop learning in this, and you never stop seeing new things, and you never. The thing about it is, very few people retire in this industry because it keeps going. As soon as you think you've seen it all, you'll see something else just completely changes. And you learn something from. So that's what's great about it. If I take it back 8 years, I remember when I got this shop, there was a lot of Victorian jewelry, really top class Victorian jewelry, um, which at the time, this would have been 2018, was not super super popular, and certainly wasn't really desirable in Ireland. But since then, it has just changed dramatically. And it was always super high quality jewelry, but it just wasn't the style. But now, like the chunky gold Victorian chains, the suites with garnets, with filigree work, with pink topaz, with chrysoberyl. I think if only I knew today how the market would go. Obviously, it's like saying if you knew the lotto numbers, right? But that jewelry would be incredible to have today. And at the time, I was only just in the business, and I was selling it, at really way less than I should have been. And obviously we like to say we're good value, but I really was selling it for less than I should have been. Like, I remember I had this one specific piece. It had lots of Roman intaglios, and in between the Roman intaglios was gold work with enamel, red and green enamel work, very fine, very typical Castellani and Giuliano work. Amazing piece, but never took it out of the window at that time. I ended up selling it to a client here locally. I think if they took it in to sell it to an antiques dealer today, I think they could do very well on it. Um, and I mean, that was just one piece. There was loads of pieces like that. I remember I had a a dealer from LA. She flew over, and she had this chain, like a very chunky, really I can't remember I think it weighed something like 117 grams or something like that. I don't know what that is in pennyweights. I don't know if you're listening, if you want to let us know what the conversion is to pennyweights, if someone can do it there now. Let me 170 grams to pennyweights. It's heavy, really heavy. And it had a big lock at the end, a heart locket, and that's what held it together. But the heart locket was, kind of would have been an inch long, like, so it was quite a substantial piece. And that I sold that for just like gold price, basically. And that now, obviously, gold price is way higher, but that piece would be like a multiple of gold price. It'd be probably 3-4 times its gold value because it was so rare, and incredible. But anyway, that one was that was another one. I can think of a few others, but I wouldn't want to do it. Might enjoy thinking about all the other pieces we sold at such. But look, people got bargains. Good luck to them. But when I opened the store in 2018, TikTok wasn't on the radar at all, and obviously now it's the number one platform for a lot of places. For us, TikTok is an absolute must. And it's what it does. These platforms is it gives people a chance, I think, to get a lot of good information about antique jewelry. Because let's face it, if you didn't have an antique store near you, it was almost impossible to see these pieces. Um, I mean, they're so rare that it's hard to actually, see a collection, see the variations between a Victorian piece to an Edwardian piece, and to Art Deco and 1940s and so on. So these platforms, I think, give people an opportunity to actually learn about antique jewelry, which is fantastic. I think on TikTok, our bio says illuminating the world of antique jewelry because that's what we want to do. Just share this with people and just so to show you how great it is because I really do think it is the best type of jewelry in the world. Like, and then I'll tell you an interesting story. I mean, the other word on the lips of the nation or every nation is artificial intelligence, right? I had a very interesting one the other day where I was just talking to Sarah in the store. That morning, I was just mentioning how AI could impact us, as I was saying, it might be doing this or I might be doing that. People talking about styles, about values. And I had someone came in that day then, and this guy said, he's looking at a ring and he said, "Oh, can you do anything for me on the price?" And I said, "Well, not really, because you know we put the rings on the internet, and if we don't have the price keen, people can easily price check it, and we won't get the business unless the prices are keen, right? Like obviously on certain pieces, there's always a wiggle room on certain pieces, but it's particularly with our antique diamond rings. Look, the prices there are really more or less what they are, right? But I said when I said that to him that not really, can't do anything. He said, actually, that's fine because I already put a picture of your ring into ChatGPT and it said the value was very good. So I'm happy to go with that. Now, I was obviously happy to sell the ring, right? But I was also thinking that, like, the one of the potential drawbacks of this information that's out there is also means there's a lot of misinformation. Like, there's no way that ChatGPT could assess the nuances of an antique piece versus a modern and I know that because after this, I actually put a load of pictures of repro rings in versus actual antique rings, and it couldn't tell the difference. Now I know people who understand ChatGPT might go on and say, or AI generally, I use that as an example, that particular platform might go on and say, oh, the model will adapt and evolve, but I just think the nuances are so small, and the photography to actually get the images in there would have to be so specific that it would struggle to decipher. And like even some pieces today, like some pieces take two or three experts looking at them to come up with a kind of a panel consensus. The age of the piece, the quality, the grades, all that kind of stuff. So I definitely think it's great and it'll give people a basis, but I think there's an expert level of information that's being missed. And what was concerned about that people might be taking that feedback that they're getting from these AI devices as gospel when I'm sure they're very good and they'll probably improve. And I've no idea. Who knows where it'll go? But I've for sure right now the level of expertise is just not there yet, and might not be because of the nature of the pieces. But that said, like people are educating themselves. That's fantastic. People get to see antique jewelry, which if you're not based in your store, as I mentioned, you just won't be able to. So this is all really, really positive. Actually, I even got a message the other day that someone was listening to the podcast because they want to do some research and get some education about antique jewelry. And they got so interested in it that they actually signed up to do a gemology course. So, I mean, look, we're delighted if this is inspiring people to do, to educate themselves or do courses or get more into the antique jewelry world. That's fantastic. So good luck to that person. Funny thing, we did a pilot course during the year of called Courtville Academy, where we in Paris Court in this room that we're in here now. Actually, we did a jewelry different time periods of jewelry. So Victorian, Edwardian, and Art Nouveau. And it was an in-person course. And you know what? We did 3 days. It sold out. We could have sold 30 days, to be honest with you. So I think that education from experts in the field is still going to be really important. And watch this space because we'll be doing a bit of work on that this year. But um, I think that's an exciting thing we're looking forward to in 2026. So looking forward to what trends do we see happening in 2026 for antique jewelry? Well, let's look at the metals first, right? I think yellow gold has been, I think the star for the last couple of years. I still think it's number one, but I think the chunkier pieces are becoming more popular. So like your chunky yellow gold bands, maybe with bezel set stones in them. That's where the stones are actually kind of set into the particular piece. You'll get them late Victorian, possibly Art Deco in ways as well. Also, platinum and white metals, white gold probably mostly often, I think are becoming more popular. Right, I've seen this a few times lately, where, and this is just anecdotal, right? Like I don't keep a log of this or anything, but so let's say someone's looking at an Art Deco ring. Art Deco rings typically platinum. This particular person might like yellow gold band. They're thinking normally they'd say, okay, I like the ring, but let's change the band to yellow gold. They're actually opting to keep it in platinum. And, you know, look, we can change bands to yellow gold, no problem. And, we can even give you the platinum band. And if you ever wanted to change it back, you could, right? And with laser soldering, it's really clean. It doesn't make any huge impact, right? But I think it's not so much. Sorry, yes, it's that people are looking at the different color metals and mixing metals, white gold, yellow gold, rose gold together, right? Okay, that's one thing. But I think the other thing is it's the feeling I'm getting is it's more that people just they don't want to change it. It's an antique ring, it's got a platinum band, we'll just leave it that way. People are becoming um more knowledgeable about the the ranges and the styles, and they kind of want to keep it as is. Because obviously the antique pieces are getting rarer every year as people are getting people who don't appreciate them, they melt them. That is completely sacrilege. But anyway, um, but I think now there's more people are realizing that it's good to keep them as they are. But I would certainly say that if you are changing a platinum one to a yellow gold one, just ask us. You can keep the platinum band, and then if you ever wanted to put it back on, you could. And with laser soldering, it's so precise, it's so neat, you'll never be able to tell. So there's certain pieces that you'd never play with or alter because the value of the antique is more than the sum of the parts. Okay, so it's not just the gold, it's not just the diamond or the sapphire or the ruby or anything like that. It's not just that. It does have an antique value, like a rarity, a beauty. Like a lot of these are considered art. So I think it's that as well. Just a growing appreciation for antique jewelry and an enhanced knowledge of antique jewelry, which is why, as I mentioned earlier, I think social media and online educational platforms are fantastic because people are getting this appreciation. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on that. Looking at the stones, I would say that it's again in the jewelry industry, lab grown natural diamonds. It's a big thing, right? I'd actually what I've seen or where I think it's interesting is that because these lab grown diamonds, they all look the same and the modern rounds look also the same. What's happened is there's been a interest in these unusual old cuts. Because if you look old mine cut, old European cut, transitional cut, and even just some old cuts of diamond that don't even fit into any category, they're really unique. A lot of them, especially if some of the different the warmer tones, the cognacs, the browns, these unusual colored diamonds. It was a big thing like for years. And my father, who was an antiques dealer for the last number of years, he wants DEF color diamonds, DEF color. But I think the market is a bit more nuanced than that now, in that these off whites, they perform great. They've got amazing scintillation. It's not that they don't perform well; they perform beautifully. But historically, in the last 30 years, they weren't what people were thinking about. But I think now, because they actually are unique, they can get these one-off colors that you won't find anywhere else, coupled with maybe an unusual cut. I think there'll be a renewed interest in these stones. And I mentioned that in the last episode too. So obviously it's on my mind. But I would definitely say that is a key thing to look out for in 2026. And then I would say overall, like stacking rings, like wearing rings on different fingers, like not just your ring finger or your baby finger, like pointer rings, middle finger rings, middies, like all those ones I think are going to become more popular as well. I think just overall, like dainty jewelry is popular, but I just feel this more like bold designs are becoming popular again. In fact, we're making a trip to London soon to go to the Divine Jewels exhibition, which is in the V&A until April. This is a Japanese dealer, antique jewelry dealer, who only deals in the finest antique jewelry. Kazumi Arakawa is this gentleman's name, and he's had a lifelong pursuit of the most beautiful jewelry, and he's got a collection that wouldn't be out of place in any royal family. In fact, could be better than all of them, right? He's got amazing jewelry, and that exhibition, we're going to that in the next 6 weeks, so it'll be a really, really good one. We'll do lots of content on that, but that's one that if you're available to and can go to, I definitely recommend. Thank you very much for listening, or if you're on YouTube, for watching. And if you are on YouTube, make sure you click that subscribe button. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, click the follow button. As always, if you want to get in touch, email us at experts@courtfield.ie. And don't forget, we've got a dedicated podcast Instagram account, which is Gem Pursuit Pod. This has got behind the scenes looks, extra information, well worth giving it a follow. Thank you very much to our producer Ross Hannon of Tape Deck for putting this episode together, Colin Weldon for video, and from myself, Matthew Weldon. Until the next time, happy hunting.